Excuse my hand there. Did you see that? I'm going to show you how I did that. Well, good afternoon. This is Mr. Tom again with another video for you. This week we are going to be making film canister rockets. Now, what you just saw or a little earlier, that was my rocket, and I told you I was going to show you how to do that. Now, of course, there's a little bit of science behind here. We're going to talk about the science of pressure and force. Okay, now there's a couple different things I had to mix together in order to create that force. Now, first of all, let me show you what I got here. This, parents might remember what these are. If you have any photographers in the family, these are called film canisters. And they're called film canisters because before digital photography was around, you'd use rolls of film. Maybe you might be familiar with Kodak, the company Kodak. They make rolls of film and they fit just inside here, and to keep them safe, you put the cap on. Now, turns out that these work great for making these rockets. Now, the one I made, I decorated just a little bit. I put some paper around it, made a nose cone for it, but to make this a little easier for you to see, for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to cover it with paper. But of course, if you want to decorate it, go for it. So what I did was, I took some water. Now I've got a beaker of water here. As you might be able to tell, I've already done this quite a bit, made a bit of a mess on here, so I'm down a bit on my water, but I still got plenty. So what I'm going to do, so you can see this, I'm going to try and hold this up here. So I'm going to fill this. It's about a third of the way. I don't know if you can tell how dark that is there. I'm just going to pour just a little bit in there. Yeah. So that's about a third of the way up the canister. You might be able to see that there. All right, next thing I'm going to do, make sure I have my lid nearby, because I'm going to put in some Alka-Seltzer, or any kind of effervescent tablet really will work. Now, people used to use these, or some still do, of course. If you have kind of an upset stomach, maybe indigestion, you plop one of these or half of these in a cup of water and take it. It's kind of like an antacid. It kind of helps with that. I'm going to break this in half. Like that. Well, a couple little pieces, but that's okay. I just need half of one of these. Now, from here on out, I have to make this kind of quick. Okay, and this is why I'm doing this standing up, by the way. I want to get to a spot where you can see. Move a couple things out of the way. Also, safety glasses, just in case. Now, once I plop this in, I want to make sure this is sealed tight. I'm going to shake it up just a little bit and then flip it upside down. So that way, once I put this in, I drop some water, once I put this in, it's going to sit like that. All right. You ready? Little shake. And there you go. That's how you make a film canister rocket. Now, let's talk a little bit about the science behind that. Take this off. You probably hear it too. See that bubbling there? That's fizzing. I'm sure you've seen that. Whenever you drink soda, you know bubbles are made of a gas. It's called carbon dioxide, CO2. That's 1 part carbon atom to 2 oxygen atoms. I might learn a little bit about that more if you haven't had any chemistry and science yet. But that's called carbon dioxide gas. Whenever you see that fizzing, you can tell there's some kind of gas. Now, when I mix the Alka-Seltzer, or this effervescent tablet, with water, it forms that carbon dioxide gas. You have what's called a chemical reaction. So you have the ingredients in the tablet mixing with The water, which of course is H2O, that's 1 part hydrogen to 2 parts oxygen, if you haven't learned that yet. When that mixes together, it creates that CO2. Basically, just think, the different letters in H2O, CO2, and whatever ingredients are in here, they're kind of rearranging themselves. They're not going away. They don't disappear. They're still there. They just rearrange themselves into something else. In this case, it rearranges into CO2, which is that gas. Now, gases, they want to expand to fill whatever container they're in. So it wanted to fill this container. Now, the issue was there was so much CO2 gas formed that it couldn't keep itself in the container. It wanted to expand even more. And so what happened was the cap popped off. Now, here's the physics behind it. That gas is creating an upward pressure, that upward force rather. That force, when it goes up, it's called thrust. So when there was so much gas in there, it couldn't be contained inside the canister any longer, and it forced itself up and popped off, that was thrust. And that's essentially how a rocket works. I'm sure you've heard of rocket fuel. In this case, fuel kind of was the water. Just put a little bit of water in there. So that's how a film canister rocket works. Now, just real quick, to turn this into a science experiment, I recommend you follow along in your guide with this. You can try a few different things. If you have a couple of these film canisters, or really any kind of plastic container that can be sealed like that, but it's easy to pop off. It doesn't have to be a film canister. These just work best. What you can do is you can have 2 different canisters going, and you can try, maybe one has 1 level of water in it, the other has maybe slightly more. You can also see what happens if you put in a whole tablet versus just half a tablet. You can also try heating up water and see how that might affect it. Keep in mind though, and this is just a little bit of a hint, the more water you add, the more heavy it's going to be, right? So that might impact how quickly and or how high your rocket will go up. So just some fun things to try, and there's an opportunity there, of course, to learn a little bit about scientists and how they conduct different experiments. Okay, well, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for next week's video. Have fun.